Alright everyone, in the last video, what we did was we succeeded in getting the wizard to walk across the screen to the spot where the door is, so that he passes through the door, except that he only started walking after the door had already opened and the graphics had cleared. So what we want to do now is we want to try and get him to walk across at the right time. So the first question is, well, why is he not walking across at the right time? And you might have a think about this. It's quite a difficult one to answer, I think. But the answer is because in a recent video, we set things up so that he's paused in between levels. So this walk command here is set up, it's defined in such a way that it doesn't work in between levels. And that's why he's paused. And then at the end, when so it kind of gets stuck here on pause. And then at the end of the sequence, when the door disappears, the game unpauses. And at that point, this cycle gets released and it drives him across the screen. So what we need to do is we need to do one of two things. We need to either rewrite this so that it doesn't have the pause inside it, but then that's going to move us back to the old problem of how to get it to pause in between levels. That's to say, at least take the controls away from the user between levels. We don't want it to pause in the sense that the wizard doesn't move. We want the wizard to move. But we don't want him to move under the control of the player. We want him to just kind of do an automatic movement that just takes him across the screen. So do we want to go back to the situation where he's unpaused and the user still has control over him? I think not. So what's the alternative? The alternative is that we get rid of this. So walk is a perfectly good thing for when you're controlling the walk, but when you're moving and you're not in control, well, then we need a different code. That's what we're going to do. We're going to write a different code. Okay, so I just brought this down because the easiest way to write the code that we need is to copy it from what we already have. So go to My Blocks and define a new function called walk, I don't know, walk to door. Let's call it walk to door. Okay. This is going to be a lot like walk. So, but it's not going to have this stuff about pause and the controls being off and so on. It's just going to have this this thing in the middle here. So if I just duplicate this and then just put the old one back and bring it down here. So walk to door, unlike walk has a direction input. So it's walk and then you choose your degrees. So walk 90 degrees is walk to the right. Walk 180 degrees is walk straight down, you remember? This doesn't have any input. But it doesn't need it because this is just going to be a simple walking action that always moves the wizard to the right. So we don't need a variable for degrees. We know he's always going to be moving to the right, and so the number is always 90. Oh, I think you got a little clock. So we're moving to the right, and you can see it makes it 90. Now, when I think about it, I don't think we need the set direction part because that's just to make sure that the wizard's direction is known for the purposes of firing his lightning so that it shoots in the same direction that he's facing. But he's not going to be shooting any lightning in between levels, so we can just get rid of that. So this is the essential part here. You point in the direction 90, and then you take one step. The good thing about using this code here, take one step, is that it's going to have that little tip-tap that we defined. It's going to have the animation evolved, and so he's going to look like he's actually walking. And then move 10 steps. And if we just repeat that within this loop, he should move across the screen. So let's give that a try. Let's get rid of this then. Okay. Turn the volume down. I'm going to cheat. 3, 2, 1. Next level, please. And he's moving across at the right time. So the only problem with that is he didn't get there fast enough. So let's try and see if we can fix that. So one way to fix that is to make him move a little faster so that each step covers more ground. So if I make this into 12, I wonder if that will be any better. Let's cheat. 3, 2, 1. Next level, please. Oh. This is where you have to fight them all the time. Alright, let's try that again. Well, that was way too slow. And then he went wandering past. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Okay, it seems we've got two problems now. The first is that he's not fast enough. The second is that he's wandering way past the point where the door is, and I think I know why that is, but it's quite difficult to spot. You can maybe pause the video and try to figure it out for yourself before I tell you. So the problem is this. It says, repeat until you're in the position 170. The problem with this is, it means repeat until you're in the exact position 170. But what can happen sometimes is, if you start off at minus 140, and then keep adding 12, you don't hit 170. You hit a number slightly less than 170, and then you overshoot and hit a number slightly over 170. And that means there's no moment at which you're exactly at 170. But that's what you need in order to stop this loop. This loop says repeat until you're exactly at 170. Well, if you're never exactly at 170 because one moment you're underneath and the next moment you're over it, then you never stop. And so it just keeps on walking forever. So the solution to this is to replace the equals with a greater than. Now this will cause its own problems, but they won't be as bad. So this needs to be 170. So now this is going to say, hey, keep repeating until you're... Actually, let's make it 169 because we want 170 to definitely count as a stop. So it says, keep going until you've gone further than 169. So if you overshoot, you can stop. So that should stop the wizard from walking forever. And it does. So the last thing we need to do is we just need to get the wizard to move fast enough to move across the screen. And I'm a bit worried about this because I think part of the issue with the wizard's speed is if I've got too many tabs open in my computer, it kind of slows down the browser, and that might be why he's moving too slow. So I advise you to just play around with this and find numbers that are good for you. And with that, I'm going to leave it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for listening, and if you find this video useful, please hit like and subscribe.